When you set up a new Meta ads account or Facebook ads account, whatever you want to call it, they hide a huge percentage of the data that's available to you on what is actually happening when you run any ads. They barely even put things like purchases very often. They hide so much information, and I think that they do it on purpose because lots of new advertisers don't necessarily find profits, especially near the beginning, because it's not such a straightforward place to find success in the modern world. It's become much more of an advanced platform that you have to really understand what you're doing to find success. So I think that they're purposefully hiding that data from you so that you don't basically give up in those early days. But ultimately, you need that data to be able to decide which ads have won, which ads haven't won, which audiences are winning versus others, which types of placements are better or worse for you, and all of these questions that are vital to understand how to find success when it comes to meta advertising. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to give you the professional standard of how to set up your columns so that you can see this perfect funnel from start of an impression all the way through to converting within your website, and even things like offline conversions that are so vital. So we can set this up together. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a look at it and dig into how to set up this professional standard to Meta columns. So here we have clients of ours that we're currently running Meta ads with. It's a relatively modest budget. And before I carry on, just to say, don't worry too much about trying to note down every single one of these column headings, because in the description below, what I'm going to do is create a downloadable for you, which will give you not just the Meta columns, but also the Google columns, LinkedIn ads columns, all of the major platforms. I've done this same process for, and I've also done a video for the other platforms. So that's Google and LinkedIn. They're the main ones that we love to work with because they're the ones that we found the most success from. So you'll find all of those in a single downloadable that you'll see in the description to this video. So head there and you can just download it rather than trying to grab every single one of these in this video screen share. But anyway, let's dig into it. So we've got a starting point here is you're trying to create a funnel view within the data. So there's a few things that you want to start off with, which a couple of them are automatic. So you of course have off on. So that's whether the campaign is actually running at all. And then we have the campaign name. So that you still obviously want to have that first because it's how you identify between each of the different campaigns. Then you've got delivery. So this just to make it very clear right from the beginning that you have it on or not. That's obviously very important to remember. Date created. This is just very helpful to remind yourself how long have these particular campaigns been running for. Sometimes, this is a useful piece of information. Budget, so we generally use ad set budget, but we still like to have that here because occasionally we do campaign level budgeting. Then we have amount spent. So this is really important to remember to be checking because ultimately, sometimes you're making a decision on £20 of amount spent and you think your ROAS is really good or something, but it's just because you've not spent much money yet. Then we have purchases, cost per purchase, purchase conversion value, and ROAS. These are, if you're in e-commerce, pretty much all that ultimately matters. It's the rest of it is interesting and helpful to dig into nuances, but as long as these numbers are good, you're in an amazing place. There's way more to these, and I do other videos talking about things like the attribution model that you're using and using third-party tracking, but these are vital to understanding your basic level of success. Like either you're making sales or you're not, and if you're not making sales, it's not working for you, and if the ROAS isn't where it needs to be in terms of profitability for you and your company, then it doesn't matter, the rest of the numbers. Result comes after this because ultimately sometimes it's not the purchase that you're focused on in that moment. It might be to do with add to baskets or initiate checkouts or something else that you're focused on, or video views or something else. So this is the next category, so results and cost per result. This is just those two because generally it is purchases that we care about, but then it's just afterwards we have these. There is an exception to this, which is when you're doing lead gen. So if you're a B2B company, or maybe you're a hybrid and you're doing both e-commerce and B2B, well then you will want to have more columns. But I actually highlight that in the spreadsheet, which I've got, which I produced for you, which is in the downloadable. So you can head to that and see how all of this adjusts a little bit around the lead status. So some companies we work with will have both because they're like a marketplace, and others it's just one or just the other. And then we go into really the funnel. So reach, that's like the very top level. Anyone who's just kind of seen it, through to impressions is how many people have actually seen it. And then that's your frequency. So this is important obviously to be considering, and people almost no platform, I think, LinkedIn or any of them, automatically have frequency included. But this is important to consider, because if you have a frequency of say 20, in Facebook ads especially, that is very high, and sometimes that can start to cause issues. And ultimately, I still think that the most important number is ROAS, etc., or cost. Yeah, you know, how much money are you making, basically. So sometimes frequency should not be considered, but it is a factor to look at. And then CPM, so cost per 1,000, through to link clicks. I make an important point that we've got cost per click, click-through rate, but these are link click-through rate and cost per link click. So there's lots of types of clicks on an ad, and if you just do CPC, that includes all of those different clicks, and so your CPC will sound very low, but all the ones that we care about are link clicks. So that's clicks of links to your landing page. So those are the ones we care about, so that's why we do cost per link click. And then we have unique link clicks as well. This is just because sometimes there's quite a large disparity between link clicks and unique link clicks. If you don't know what any of them are, by the way, when I'm talking about these, you can just hover over them and it tells you exactly what they are. We then go down the funnel. So once they've clicked on the link, they go to viewing content within the website. So that's where we use content views. And then we go into add to carts. So this is that next step where they're actually adding items. And we also like to add in the cost per add to cart and the value of those add to carts, because again, if there's a big drop off between the amount of money being put into the carts and then people actually purchasing, well then that's an interesting signal that we should be looking at. And then checkouts initiated, this is of course the next step in the process, and the same for the cost per and the value. And then these, this is not set up correctly in this account yet because they don't have that. The add to carts to initiate checkouts conversion rate and the total site conversion rate. So this is where you can create custom columns. So I really enjoy these. So all you're doing, if I click in here, just to show you how you actually set up these custom columns, you come into here, columns, you do custom columns. This is actually really interesting as a side note, compare attribution settings, but we'll ignore that for today because it's too big of a topic. But if you'd like me to talk about that, then leave a comment. Let's do customize columns. This is where you actually add all of them. So all of these columns I've just been talking about, you click to tick them. That'll add them to this right list, and then you drag them into the right position. But if you want to do a custom column, you can see custom columns, everyone has access. You can see these are 3 custom columns I've already created. So this would be the amount of people, for example, who have clicked on an advert, a link from one of your ads, against the amount of people that have actually purchased. So then that gives you essentially your site conversion rate. So this is really nice numbers to have within Facebook, because you can then much more quickly say, you know what, we've only got a 0.1% conversion rate from people who have clicked on an ad through to your website to actually purchase. So that's really low. So something is going amiss, or generally in most cases that's low. So in that situation, maybe this is why we're doing these columns and why it's so vital. Maybe actually the ad is being received really well. Like maybe the cost per click is in a place that we're happy with. The CPM is not too bad. Click-through rates, maybe we're okay with that. This is actually a very high ticket item, so it's slightly lower click-through rates. But anyway, let's just say we're happy with all of these things. But then all of a sudden, we notice that lots of people are initiating their checkout, but nobody's purchasing. So something has gone wrong when people are going to add their payment details. Maybe it's because the card that you're accepting for your e-commerce website is not the one that your customer wants to be using, or maybe you only accept PayPal payments and your customers don't like PayPal, or whatever the problem is. So when you have these columns really nicely set up like this, and even these custom columns, it allows you to diagnose what the problem is. We have a good example of this with a client recently who had exactly this situation. We were driving huge numbers of people to go through this flow, but then at the very last stage, when they were meant to be clicking that pay button, nobody was doing it. So we went in, we dug into their form. This was actually more of a B2B lead gen sales flow, but it was kind of e-commerce because you could pay in that moment. And we could see that actually that's where the problem was. So there was this massive drop off. So we went in, we looked at their form, and we noted that actually they were asking for people to tell them where they had heard about them. They were asking them to pick which of their products they were interested in. And for this particular campaign, we were only focused on one of their products. So that was making the customer more confused, etc. So we removed all of these. We created a specific form just for our campaigns. And that massively increased the conversion rate. And suddenly we started to unlock some really great value for that client. So that was because of the fact that we have this much better view compared to, if I just quickly click on, say, performance. This is the generic information it gives you. You can see that we get results, reach, impressions, cost per result, and amount spent, and ends. That's it. You get anything else. I think that's like, what is it, 10 columns roughly, versus if we go back to ours, we have countless more columns. I think this is the right one. Maybe I clicked the right one. So much more information here that we can use to diagnose what is actually going on, how are people reacting to your ads, and also what are they then doing within the website beyond the ads, because that's so vital when you're trying to diagnose as well. So there we have it. That was me running through all of the columns for Meta ads or Facebook ads. This really is vital if you want to try and diagnose what's going on within your campaigns and drive that ROAS up, drop that cost per acquisition and find profitability. It's vital, and it's the first thing we do with any new client. My agency that I run, we run millions of pounds through Meta ads, and we have to do this as the very first port of call to be able to judge any campaigns that we're running. We also have done a video on Google ads for this and LinkedIn ads. We're going to create a playlist for it on my channel. You can find it there to get all of those columns set up. And as I said, I did a downloadable for this. So if you head to the description, there'll be a link that you can click to add your email in, and then we'll email you with all of the column setups so that you don't have to be scouring through this video to capture all of them. It's just a nice spreadsheet for you that you can make a copy of. Either way, I hope this was of use, and I hope you subscribe so that you can get these other videos and more like it every week that I release.